Play Progress, which is written by St. John Grier Irvine. And this, we are going to take a review of this play progress. What are the highlighted points of it? One act play. Basically, when if we talk about play progress, it is a one act play. Let's see what does it mean. A one act play is a form of drama that is written in one act, as opposed to plays that are divided into several acts, but it is written in one act. It is usually has a running time of between 15 minutes to an hour and focuses on a single event or problem taking place in a single setting. Unlike full-length plays, one-act plays do not have intervals. Basically, there is no gap in between. They present a concise, focused narrative, making them a popular choice for dramas, festivals, and competitions. An example of a renowned one-act play is Progress, which was written in 1919 by St. John Grier Irvine, and it has one act which contains just one single scene. So if we talk about one-act plays, these are the plays. Those basically have a few characters, a very short span of time they consume, hardly 15 to 1 hour. And if we talk about their scenes, most probably 1 to 3 scenes, not more than this. And here in this play progress, we have just one single scene. Introduction, St. John Irvine is a modern British playwright. His one-act play, Progress, is a play on science and humanism. It deals with the evil effects of war on human beings. We talk about its setting. The scene of the play is laid in remote village in north of England on a spring day in the year 1919. The scene of the place is basically in the tidy room of Professor Poole. As far as characters are concerned, so there are 5 characters in the play, those we can observe. They are Professor Corey, a scientist, Mrs. Meldon, his sister, Tom Meldon. Tom Meldon was basically the he was the husband of Mrs. Meldon, who is no more. Addie, her son, who basically passed away in World War One, and he is also no more. But throughout Mrs. Meldon in play, she discusses about Eddie and Tom both. Hannah is basically a servant. She is a maid servant, and she continuously, you can see, she is coming and going throughout in this play progress. But basically, if we talk about the main character, there are just 2 main characters. One is Professor Corey, who is scientist, and the second one is Mrs. Meldon, his sister, his younger sister. If we talk about the theme of the progress, St. John has written it's a very successful specimen of a one-act play. It has not only a unity of theme, the unities of time, place, and action are also meticulously maintained. The central idea of the play progress is that we should not favor war as it causes destruction of mankind on a large scale. We should not give rise to the feelings of hatred and enmity through wars. Basically, this play is written after the World War One, and from one point of view, it is basically an anti-war play. The climax of the play progress happens at the moment when Mrs. Meldon comes to the room of her brother, Professor Corey, and she really became shocked to see the invention of her brother, because he had basically invented the formula of bomb. As she is against wars and destructive weapons, she asked her brother to destroy the invention by his own hands, otherwise it would cause much damage to humanity and peace of the world by killing millions of people. So this is in fact the climax of display progress. Main conflict arises in the play progress is basically ideological. In nature, Mrs. Meldon loves peace and hates war. As far as Professor Corey, her brother is concerned, who is a scientist, wants to see the destruction of the world. with the invention of his bomb, and he was in favor of wars. On the other hand, his sister, Mrs. Malden, she was against the war. Progress a melodrama. Yes, this short play can be called a melodrama. Chambers Dictionary defines a melodrama kind of romantic and sensational drama, though it's not romantic, but it's sensational because it's all about the emotions, feelings, and crude sentimentals and conventional, with strict attention to the poetic justice and happy endings. So, poetic justice in this drama, the element of thrill and suspension is there. Furthermore, the author has done the poetic justice. What is poetic justice? Poetic justice means when someone does something wrong, so he must be punished. And if someone does something good, so he must be rewarded. So it's all about punishment and reward. So we can say yes, it is a melodrama. Why not say 30 pieces of silver, or who said these words and why? So see, this 30 pieces of silver, these are the words, those were said by Mrs. Malden to her brother, Professor Kore. Mrs. Malden said these words sarcastically when her brother insisted upon her to help him set a price for his invention. So many times he has basically asked from Mrs. Malden that what would be the price of my this invention. The words remind the readers of a biblical event about Jesus Christ. He was betrayed by one of his followers, Judas, for only 30 silver coins. So basically, these words she has basically, why mm, does she say such words? Because she basically tries to, um, sarcastically, she tries to ask her brother that why not he is asking for 30 pieces of silver, because if we talk about Jesus Christ, his one of his followers, Judas, he has basically for these only 30 silver coins he betrayed. So she believed that he is also not a patriot. Similarly, Professor Henry Corey had betrayed his own kind of inventing a weapon to bring harm to human fine, so the price should be the same. 30 pieces of silver is the price that benefits a traitor. A traitor means the one who is not faithful, the one who is not a patriot. Next, a very important point here that does the physical appearance of Professor Henry Corey depicts his true nature? So no, his physical appearance does not depict his true nature to a casual visitor. He seems to be a harmful, kindly, inconsequent person who is completely absorbed in his work. It is when he is angry that his true nature surfaces. He becomes cruel, cold, and insensitive to others' feelings and consider his experiment more important than human. Throughout in that play, we have observed that how he was engrossed in his work, and even he forgets the third death anniversary of his own um, nephew. So, and her when the another important point, when his sister she was arriving, he also forgets to pick her from the railway station. Professor Henry Core's views about women. Professor does not think well about women. He thinks that they are fussy in nature, they cannot concentrate, they have no capacity for complete impersonal devotion, and that is the reason no woman has ever been great artist or scientist. So throughout, it feels like that he is against the women, and even to Mrs. Meldon many times he has used for her. Um, the words those are not good for any woman. Charlotte. Who is Charlotte? Charlotte is Professor Henry Ford's sister. She marries Tom Meldon and comes to be known as Mrs. Meldon. So, in fact, Mrs. Meldon's real name is Charlotte, but as she was got married to Tom Meldon, so that's why throughout her name is used here, Mrs. Meldon. Her role in the play is the vital importance and stands as a contrast to her brother's role. It is the conflicting ideas of Mrs. Meldon and brother Professor Corey that give play, the turns and twists that the play takes. Without her character, there will be no appeal in the play. She stands for peace and humanity and fights the evilness and meanness of her brother, who is bent upon destroying humanity by discovering means of making wars horrible and devastating. So basically, Charlotte is Mrs. Meldon, whose role is entirely different or opposite to Professor Henry Poret. Organized butchery of boys. This is the phrase which is used by the Mrs. Meldon. With why? Let's see. Mrs. Meldon hates wars. When she loses her son in a war, her hatred for it increases. She calls it an organized way of killing the youth of a country. Mrs. Meldon calls the killing of young soldiers in war butchery because they are killed in a brutal manner. There is no mercy, no decency in their deaths. The soldiers do not know why they are um, killing or why they are being killed. So as they have really no idea, and secondly, they have been properly trained for this purpose, and when they go into the war zone, they have been killed very badly, and sometimes even they have no idea what will happen with their dead bodies. So here we are going to end our this video. We have tried to focus all the important points. Those will be really helpful for the students.